Most investors would have ignored this lead. Nice condo, downtown Seattle, seller wanted near market value. But our client Andrew saw the real opportunity. In this case study, we break down how he structured a novation deal on an off-market condo and created a projected $35K to $39K spread without the seller ever listing with an agent. Let's break it down. Creative.
Congratulations, by the way, on your first one,
Thanks.
and we're really happy about what you're started to accomplish with us, and of course, looking forward to see you guys locking in a lot more deals.
Yeah.
So let's get into it, brother. So could you please give me more context about what was the seller's situation and the condition of the property?
Yeah. So the seller's situation was that he owned a condo that was a rental property for him, and he lived probably a good half an hour from the condo. And he was the reason he was motivated to sell is because he's living with his fiance, and they were wanting to liquidate the money from the sale of that condo and use it towards a new home purchase with the both of them. So they were going to sell this condo and then sell the house that they live in now, and then use the funds for a new property for both of them. And yeah, so that was kind of the seller's reasoning for wanting to sell. And then the condition of the property is, I would give it a 9 out of 10 as far as condition. It's a newer condo building in the heart of downtown Seattle. So very desirable area. Very nice, updated finishes. Countertops are really nice. Flooring is really nice. Everything in there is really nice. It's basically in a list ready state, which is not typically our bread and butter. We normally look for houses that need some rehab, but that's kind of the condition of it.
It's pretty cool. What type of deal was that? Was like a cash offer, or is it an ovation, something like that?
Yeah, so we did a novation on it, and the novation was perfect for this guy. And I kind of like knew that going into the whole situation. I knew that that was probably the route that we were going to go down, because he wanted he wanted to get a closer to market value price for the property because it's in such a nice area. It's in good condition. Um, so I knew from the beginning that the cash offer was probably going to be too low, and that the novation offer would be more appealing to him. And the other thing too that he wanted to avoid was listing it with a realtor. He didn't want to pay realtor fees. He didn't want to go through all the work of getting the property staged, and there's tenants in there too. So we're having to work with the tenants for photos and showings and stuff like that, which he didn't want to handle any of that stuff. He's busy, so he wanted close to market value price for the property, but didn't want to hire an agent and go through all the work to list it. So Novation was kind of the perfect middle ground for his situation.
Absolutely, sounds great. All right, that's pretty nice. Now, would you say that there was anything on this deal that you could have learned that you could use in future deals?
Yeah. Is this like going somewhere? Like, is this like being posted somewhere or anything? Or are you taking
Yeah,
it is okay.
it will, yeah.
All right. Well, you actually, I give you a lot of credit for this lead being worked the way it was, because we are we kind of prejudge leads too often. And with this one, when it came in, I definitely prejudged it a little bit. And then we had the conversation about the lead. And so I just continued to work it how I would work any lead. And it turned out to be a really good situation. So, yeah, the one thing that I can learn from it is don't, judge a lead before you understand what the true motivation is. And like on paper, this didn't seem like a good lead at all. Like, it was a super nice condo. The seller wanted close to market value. And like, if I were working this lead like a year ago, I probably wouldn't have worked it. But yeah, so that's one important thing that I can take from it.
That is amazing, brother. I
Yeah.
truly appreciate that you mentioned that today. And definitely it's a big win for me.
Mhm.
And of course for you guys. And I truly hope that that kind of changes, the mindset
Right.
on that specific,
Yeah.
in the future. So that's terrific, man.
Mhm.
I truly appreciate you saying that. Now, would you walk me through kind of your sales process with this seller? Like, what techniques or
Yeah.
strategies do you use to build rapport and negotiate a deal?
Yeah. So it started from the first call. The first call, I basically set the expectations on pricing from that first call. From the get-go, I told him that investors that are paying cash for a property typically want to be anywhere from 60 to 70% of the after repair value of the property. And I told him that Zillow is typically close to what a house would sell for in a fully renovated state. So from the beginning, I kind of got his mindset about where we were going to be in the right area. And once I knew that he was open to that, it was really good, and I was excited about working the deal because I knew that he was willing to take a little bit of a discount. And um, so we had that first initial call, and then a couple days later, we set up a in-person appointment for me to meet him and take a look at the condo. So I did that, got pictures of everything, and then we started underwriting the property. We came up with a just straight cash offer and also a novation offer. And once I had those numbers, I set another in-person appointment with him and his wife at a coffee shop. And that appointment was pretty much going through what is most important to them when it comes to the sale of the house and how whatever way they decide to sell it is dependent on what's more important to them. So we talked about the pros and cons of, the three main options he has, which was doing a straight cash sale, doing a novation, and then doing a listing. And the the cash offer would obviously be the quickest and easiest process, but it would be, on the lower end of the offers. And then the novation was kind of the perfect middle ground for him. He wanted, a higher price, but didn't want to deal with realtors. So I really, uh, I went into the novation pitch quite a bit in that appointment. And then I also touched on what it would look like for him if he listed it with a realtor. And I never discouraged him from listing it. I told him just exactly how it would look, and I showed him a lot of the comparable sales that were on the market currently. And there's a lot of condos on the market right now, and a lot of condos are being priced way too high. So they're sitting for 60 plus days and they're getting price cuts, and it just is not a good look when you have a listing like that. So I showed him those, and I showed him that if you do decide to go the route of listing, you're going to have to hire an agent. You're going to have to sign a 6 to 12 month exclusive listing agreement, which means you're locked in with them. You better hope they're a good realtor. You're going to have to do A, B, and C to get the condo ready to be listed. And then you have to price it correctly and field offers, coordinate with the tenants, sign addendum, sign offers, sign counter offers, do all this legwork. And at the end of the day, he would have made pretty much the same amount of money that he's making from a novation with a listing. So the big negotiation tactic that I used was, why would you go through all the legwork and headache to get a realtor when we can handle all of that stuff for you and you still make right about the same amount of money? So they chewed on that for a while, and we, went into detail about those three options the first time I sat with him and his wife. And then we set another appointment for the following Friday to give them a week to think about everything. And um and then we went back following Friday. And from there, it was pretty much like after that last appointment I had with them, I knew that they were leaning towards the novation. And then sat down with them at that final appointment. And they basically just said, yeah, we're ready to do the Novation. We think it's the best option to go down. And with so what I did is I just reconfirmed everything, reconfirmed, what it's going to look like, what the process is going to look like. And up until this point, I hadn't given them any firm numbers. I've given them ranges. I've given them like where they can expect to be around, but I never gave them a cash offer. I never gave them a Novation offer. Um, so after I knew that they were ready to go, I did anchor them a little bit low. The first offer that I gave them was 370. And that would have given us like a $50,000 Novation fee if I got it at that price. And I thought honestly that they were going to go for that, but they wanted more money. So we were going back and forth on pricing for probably like half an hour, and I ended up signing with them at 390, but that was like the maximum that I could have given them. And so what I did is uh I was trying to like we are at 385 and they were like not budging. They wanted 390 and the property is occupied. So it's tenant occupied. So what I did is I went outside. I pretended to call someone. I told them, here, let me go make a call real quick. I pretended to call someone so they thought I was talking to someone. And then I came up with the idea of have them uh if I can have them push to get their tenants out of the property in the next couple of weeks to have it vacant, then that would really help make up for that extra $5,000 that I'm paying them, because properties that are vacant and staged will sell for more money. So that's what I did. I went back inside and I negotiated that with them, and they're going to do that and make sure it's vacant. And yeah, then we signed at 390. So that's kind of the sales process.
That is awesome, and that was very strategic. Pretending to have a fun conversation,
Yeah.
and meanwhile, I'm pretty sure that caused a certain uncertainty on their end, like
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool, awesome. Now, Andrew, let me ask you. Well, I know that of course this happened hybridly, like over the phone and also in person. Would you say was it hard to look it up?
Mm, no, no, I wouldn't. I've
All right.
definitely done deals that were way more difficult to lock up. What was nice about this is he was motivated from the very beginning. He knew he was going to sell his house. It was just how was he going to sell it? Was he going to list it? Was he going to sell it for cash, or was he going to do an ovation? So actually, it wasn't difficult. It was more so just helping him get educated on what the best option was for him, and then pushing him in that direction when he was mentally ready to get it started. It was actually pretty
Awesome.
easy. It went very smooth. Yeah.
So how long did it take you to convert this leading to a deal?
Let's see. See when the lead came in. So the lead came in March 30th, and I got it under contract, I believe it was Friday. So the 17th. So less than a month.
Oh yeah,
It's pretty good.
like 18, 19 days. That is
Yeah,
amazing.
that's really good.
Good stuff. Really, really good stuff. So, all right. So you ended up signing it for 390. Um, and for how much are you guys listing it?
So we're listing it for 460, and we have a partnership with a brokerage here that lists our novations for 2%.
All right.
So we're doing 2% listing commission, 2.5% buyer's commission, and then there's closing costs and title and escrow fees. So we're probably going to be paying around 7% in closing costs. And
Mm-hmm.
also 460 is a very competitive list price. We think it's going to move pretty quickly at that price. So if we do 460 minus 7% for selling costs, that's 427 minus 390. So 39,000, 38,000 is what we should make on it if we sell it for that price.
Right. So that'll be pretty much like a range between 35 to 39-ish, something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Terrific. That is awesome, brother. Was there any like unexpected expenses or challenges that you encountered throughout the process?
So we're literally at the point right now where we're getting photos taken tomorrow and then it's going on the market on Monday. So as of right now, we haven't run into any expenses or anything that we're not that came up that we weren't expecting to come up. But there could be later down the road. We may need to help these tenants get their stuff out of the property at some point. I'm not sure about that yet, but as of right now, no.
All right, cool. And would you tell me like the the data or the metrics that you actually use to evaluate to kind of to evaluate the potential profitability of a deal?
Yeah. So what we do for well, it's different for innovations and cash offers. If we're doing a cash offer on a property, we take after pair value comps and we go through all of those comps, and then we obviously do a estimated renovation budget, and then we plug it into our performa calculator that does the calculation for us and basically gives us our what we call investor price. And whatever we buy the property for below the investor price, which is what we sell the wholesaler property for, is our profit on it. So we did those numbers, but I didn't really use them because it wasn't a cash offer. But with the Novation, it's a little more of a simple way to underwrite it because all we're looking for is active and sold as is comps that are similar to our subject property. And we found there was a good handful of active and sold comps in the same condo building. So we had a good amount of comps to go off of. And what we always do with the Novation, because we want to move the property quickly, we don't want it sitting on the market, we always adjust down $10,000 from what we think it could sell for on the market. So 470 it probably could sell for. It would probably sit a little bit longer on the market, but 460 was a list price that we came up with that we feel is definitely competitive and will sell quickly. But we take what we plan on listing it for, our list price, minus we do a 10% buffer for selling costs and other stuff. And then that puts us at our kind of investor price for innovation. Anything below that number that we signed it up for is our profit.
Gotcha. Interesting. All right, that's amazing, man. I mean, having all numbers under control definitely kind of allows you to challenge yourself for the upcoming deals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Andrew, let me ask you, what do you think so far about our service?
Really good. What I have noticed is, and this is different from other PPC and PPL companies we've used in the past, is almost all of the leads that I've spoken to haven't really, they're like at the very beginning stage of their selling process. They haven't gotten a ton of offers. They're not talking to 20 different companies. A lot of them this is like the first time they're talking to someone about selling the house, which is really cool. That's refreshing sometimes because we're competing most of the time on all of our leads. But yeah, that's kind of the main thing that sticks out to me is we're catching them super early in the process. So that's good. And most of these leads are like definitely motivated. Like most of them are sellers. There's been a couple that are like just kind of looking around for offers and stuff like that, but the good majority of them are definitely motivated sellers.
That's perfect. That's definitely great. How did our marketing strategies and coaching contributed to your success with this deal?
Dude, yeah, to be honest, like this one was had a huge part to do with the conversation we had about not prejudging a lead and just, working it the same regardless of, what kind of property is, what the seller's name is, So that was a big thing that definitely contributed to us getting this deal was your advice on that.
That is great, brother. And now that you're mentioning this, I get to remember about this lady that you guys never called, Upasana, I think it was her name.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a lesson about why not to call her. Maybe something can come out of that. I don't know. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it's pending on market right now, actually.
Oh, okay, cool. Would you recommend our services to other real estate entrepreneurs?
Yes, 100%.
Awesome. All right. Now, let's spill the tea, brother. So what do you think you're doing different, um, from other investors that is actually generating you results?
We're doing lots of things differently. I think one of the main ones that we do differently, probably from a lot of your other clients that you guys have, is we're mainly belly to belly in person with most of what we do. Um, we only really use calls when a new lead comes in, and we do kind of a discovery call. But the intention of getting on the phone with the seller is to set up an in-person appointment. And that has its pros and cons, but definitely the pros of it are developing a more a deeper relationship with the seller. You guys can feel each other out. There's so much more that you can pick up about someone when you're with them in person, like body language and stuff like that. And how you dress, you come off as professional. You can just do a lot more in person. So that's one of the main things that
Yeah.
we are super intense on, is doing as much as we can in person. Another huge thing that gets us a lot of business that no one does is we have a relocation program. So
Mhm.
we are relocating almost everybody that we buy properties from, finding them new property to live in. We're helping them apply. We're helping them buy if they have the means to buy a property. And then we fully move people into their new property that we helped find. And we also give people a good amount of time in property after closing. So we normally are giving people anywhere from 2 weeks to a month in the property after we close. And then within that time frame, we're helping them find a new place to live. So we go above and beyond with our sellers, and definitely do a little bit, I would say, unorthodox things when it comes to helping people out. Like we take people to the bank, we take them to, if they need whatever groceries. We deal with a lot of pre-foreclosures, so the people that we deal with most of the time really need extra help. So I would say that's another big thing that we're doing differently.
That is awesome, brother. Definitely that puts you in a better position for sure. And yeah, definitely in person appointments are definitely better in the sense that you can build up a much better relationship than just over the phone.
Yeah.
So that is great. Would you what piece of advice would you give to other real estate investors who are just starting out and trying to close like their first deal?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that a new real estate investor needs to focus on is the human, is like the actual person that you're working with and what their problems are and trying to solve those problems. If you can solve someone's problems, then you can buy houses at a discount. And it's not always about what you can offer them as far as a purchase price. Everybody obviously wants as much as they can get for a house, but the reason why we're able to get sizable deals is because we focus on a lot of non-monetary benefits, like the relocation, like going above and beyond with supplying boxes and tape and helping them with things outside of the transaction if they need it, or doing a quick closing, or giving someone extra time in the property after closing, or you have to focus on solving the person's problem and not just worrying about what you can offer them. So
Wow.
yeah, if sellers are just asking you for, "Hey, what can you offer me for the house?" You got to bring the conversation down to your pace and really just get into the motivation and what their problems are that you need to solve.
You got it absolutely right, man. That's fantastic, man. Congratulations again. Now
Thanks.
let's talk about a little bit of numbers. So the property is located in Seattle, right?
Yep, downtown Seattle.
All right, terrific. Was it listed when you got the lead?
No, it was off market.
All right, great. Now, what was the original asking price of the seller?
Let me check. So he was asking 400 to 500,000.
I'm sorry, 400 to what?
400 to 500,000.
Gotcha. All right. And you got them down to 390. Now, well, the motivation is pretty much that they were getting married, so they are collecting funds to buy a new property for both of them. Correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And you said that the deal was not really difficult for you to handle it and get it to a finish line.
No, not really. I mean, it took a couple appointments, but that's very normal. It's pretty uncommon that we sit down with someone for the first time and they're ready to go and sign paperwork right then and there. But this one took me three appointments technically, but there were 2 appointments where we sat down and went through some numbers, went through the process and everything. So yeah, it was relatively easy, and this guy was definitely reasonable. And like I said about solving people's problems, this guy, his motivation, yes, is to sell the property and collect funds for a new house, but he could have listed it with a realtor and done the same thing. His problem that needed to be solved was he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to drive back and forth from up north to Seattle. He didn't want to pay commissions. He didn't want to, get the condo in a listable state. Like, he didn't want to do any of that stuff. So that was where I bridged the gap between him wanting more money, but not wanting to do what he needs to do to list it. And so that was the problem that was solved. And that's why he was willing to take a little bit of a lower offer, was because we were handling all that for him.
Yeah, that's great, man. When is the projected closing date?
60 days. So probably, yeah, like 60 days at this point. Yep. We have it priced. What we're hoping for is to get an accepted offer in the first 2 weeks that we have it listed on the market. And then from there, it's going to be, 30 to 45 days for a buyer's loan to fund and all that good stuff. So that's our projected closing date.
All right. So that would be like around June 17th or so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome, brother. Thank you very much for sharing all of these details. I truly appreciate
Creative
it.
structuring wins when you understand the seller's real problem. If you want motivated inbound leads and a system to turn more conversations into profitable deals, book a free strategy call with Hesel Media, and we'll show you how to build it.